In the heart of suburban calm, where life unfurled in a tapestry of quiet routines and whispered promises, Evelyn's days wore on like well-practiced rituals. Behind her gentle smile and steady gaze lay a storm of discontent and yearning, a secret life unfolding in the shadows of a marriage that had grown predictably tame. Her husband, Middleton, a man of soft-spoken virtue and unwavering commitment, remained blissfully unaware as Evelyn's soul craved a wild liberation beyond the confines of their familiar existence. It began on an ordinary afternoon, when a chance encounter at a small art gallery sent a ripple through her carefully constructed world. There, among canvases alive with vibrant emotion, she met Vincent, a man whose dark eyes held a silent promise of adventure and forbidden allure. Their initial conversation was a slow burn, laced with hesitant smiles and the electric thrill of secrecy. Vincent's presence awakened something dormant in Evelyn, a long-suppressed desire to break free from the monotony of domesticity and rediscover the impulsive, passionate self that once reveled in every moment. As the days melted into nights filled with furtive meetings and whispered confessions, the duality of her existence deepened. By day, Evelyn navigated the roles of devoted wife and caring mother with a grace born of routine, yet by night, she surrendered to the heady intoxication of clandestine rendezvous. Every stolen moment with Vincent was a rebellion against a life that had gradually dulled the sparkle of her inner light. In the secrecy of dimly lit hotel rooms and secluded corners of the city, their encounters were imbued with a sensual intensity that defied the ordinary, a tapestry woven with threads of passion, guilt, and a daring defiance of societal expectations. However, as the affair flourished, so too did the cracks in the fragile foundation of her marriage. Middleton began to notice subtle shifts, the lingering sadness in Evelyn's eyes, the evasive pauses when memories of their shared past were mentioned, and the inexplicable distance that had grown between them. His quiet inquiries were met with uncertain silence, and his once certain world was gradually rocked by doubts he could neither confirm nor dispel. Unbeknownst to him, every tender laugh with Vincent, every rush of adrenaline beneath the cover of night, chipped away at the trust that had long been the cornerstone of their union. As summer's heat gave way to the cooling whispers of autumn, Evelyn's internal conflict intensified. Alone in the stillness of early mornings, she would find herself penning long, anguished letters never meant to be read, a conversation with the self she'd long buried under responsibilities and duty. In those pages she wrestled with the dual nature of her identity, the nurturing wife and mother on one hand, and the desperate seeker of passion and meaning on the other. The dichotomy was unbearable, each secret rendezvous with Vincent a bittersweet escape from the monotony of predictability, yet a painful betrayal of the man who had once been her home. Vincent, too, was not untouched by the tragic poetry of the union. His own past was a collage of fleeting romances and hurried escapes, and his connection with Evelyn, initially a beacon of hope for both, began revealing its inherent fragility. With every tender promise made under cover of darkness, the specter of impermanence loomed ever larger, casting doubts on whether their love, born of rebellion and nourished by secrecy, could withstand the brutal demands of truth and daylight. As the seasons turned, their stolen moments began to acquire the heavy notes of inevitability, each encounter a coin flipped between ecstasy and ruin. On a rainy evening, when the skies wept in unison with the quiet melancholy that had seized her heart, fate intervened with a twist of cruel irony. At a gathering hosted by mutual friends in a grand old townhouse, Middleton overheard fragments of conversation that planted seeds of suspicion. A familiar cologne, a half-forgotten phrase uttered in hushed tones, cracks in the veneer of their shared life that he could no longer ignore. The casual charm of the evening shattered into a series of disjointed questions, and Middleton's heart, battered by a silent grief, began its inexorable descent into a realm of betrayal and doubt. In the charged hush that followed, as glances traded unspoken accusations and the ambient light danced on tear-streaked faces, the fragile peace Evelyn had maintained was irrevocably broken. Middleton confronted her in the quiet aftermath, in a living room redolent of memories both tender and piercing. Their conversation unfolded like a slow, mournful waltz, each word imbued with the weight of shattered illusions and the raw ache of realities too painful to deny. Evelyn's eyes, luminous with regret and defiance, met Middleton's with a complexity of emotion that spoke of years spent in quiet servitude to a destiny that no longer felt like her own. Caught in the maelstrom of their unraveling lives, the couple found themselves teetering on the edge of an irreversible transformation. Middleton, grappling with a sense of betrayal that struck at the very heart of his identity, now faced the daunting task of reconciling love with an emerging truth too vast to ignore. Meanwhile, Evelyn's internal battleground was fraught with agonizing questions. Could the passionate liberation promised by her illicit liaisons ever justify the shattering of a sacred trust? Was there a path to redemption in the aftermath of such profound deviation from a life she once venerated? And most haunting of all, was it possible to salvage even a fragment of her former self when the flames of desire had burned so fiercely, leaving only ash in their wake? Outside, the city lived on, oblivious to the personal carnage unfolding behind closed doors. Neon lights flickered against rain-slicked pavements as life hurried past, indifferent to the silent tragedy of two souls caught in a maelstrom of love, betrayal, and the desperate quest for meaning. Every alleyway and idle smile seemed to serve as a reminder that life, in its unyielding march forward, always demanded a reckoning. Friends and neighbors cast furtive glances and exchanged subtle words of concern, their well-meaning advice unable to pierce the veil of intimacy that now shrouded Evelyn's dual existence. In the wake of that fateful evening, as winter's chill crept into the bones of the city and into the heart of a marriage on the brink, the inevitability of choices made in secrecy loomed large. Middleton's quiet determination to understand collided with Evelyn's fervent need to reclaim her sense of self, a self that had been slowly overridden by the weight of expectations and the silent surrender to a loveless routine. Their home, once a sanctuary of shared dreams and gentle comforts, now reverberated with the quiet clamor of unresolved truths, each echo a somber reminder of what had been lost in the pursuit of forbidden passion. Between the tremors of regret and the embers of desire, both stood at a crossroads without a clear signpost. The impending decisions, heavy with the promise of either reconciliation or irrevocable separation, loomed before them like a long, dark road leading into an uncertain future. It was in these long, desolate hours, when the night stretched interminably and the only sound was the soft patter of rain against the window, that the true cost of betrayal and passion became achingly apparent. In that lonely space between midnight and dawn, Evelyn and Middleton's hearts whispered questions about the nature of forgiveness, the possibility of renewal, and whether the magnitudes of love could ever truly counterbalance the pain of betrayal. The chill of winter settled over the town like a shroud, and with it came an unyielding quiet that seemed to mirror the frozen hearts within the old, creaking walls of the home Evelyn and Middleton once shared. Middleton, now grappling with the aftermath of that fateful confrontation, found himself wandering the muted streets at dawn, his footsteps echoing lost promises on pavements slick with rain and memories. Each step was a silent testament to the pain of betrayal, yet also a search for the elusive threads of forgiveness that might one day be woven back into the tapestry of their fractured life. In the solitude of early mornings, Middleton often sought refuge in the gentle solitude of a small, time-worn cafe tucked away on a quiet side street. Here, amidst the murmur of distant conversations and the low hum of a brewing coffee pot, he allowed his mind to drift back to the days when laughter lit the corners of their home and love was an abundant, effortless song. Yet, amid those reminiscences, a persistent undercurrent of sorrow reminded him that the picture of their past was irreparably altered, fractured by the secret that had seeped into every unguarded glance. He would trace the outlines of old photographs with trembling fingers, each image a frozen echo of a time before desire betrayed trust, before secrets cast long shadows over honest love. Evelyn, too, found herself ensnared in the labyrinth of her own desires and regrets. In the quiet recesses of her study, late into nights thick with regret and memories too painful to ignore, she pored over journals filled with raw, unfiltered confessions, a silent litany of the choices that had led to this collision of two separate lives. As the words bled across the pages, they revealed a woman torn between the safety of a familiar life and the dangerous allure of a passion unchecked by reason. Her nights became a collage of scattered dreams and stark awakenings, fleeting glimpses of Vincent's intense eyes mingling with Middleton's gentle, now haunted smile. The dichotomy of her existence gnawed at her conscience until each heartbeat resonated with the weight of irrevocable loss and uncertain future. Vincent, too, played a part in this unfolding drama, emerging intermittently from the periphery as a catalyst for further inner turmoil. His appearances were both magnetic and disquieting, a reminder of a world unrestrained by promises and propriety. Yet as the reality of their shared transgression set in, Vincent himself found the fervor of their first stolen moments giving way to a somber understanding that passion without permanence was as fleeting as the winter sun. In clandestine meetings, in the shadowed corners of quiet hotels or the dim glow of after-hours city streets, Vincent's fervor melted into a reflective melancholy, a recognition that the love they ignited could never fully outshine the darkness that now loomed over all their lives. As the bitter winds of winter slowly gave way to a tentative spring, the tension within the household deepened into a palpable atmosphere of quiet reckoning. Middleton, determined to confront his demons, initiated a series of long-overdue conversations, tentative dialogues laden with sorrow, regret, and a hesitant inkling of hope. Around a modest dinner table where silence had once comfortably reigned, words began to surface, hesitant admissions of hurt, muted confessions of longing, and the bitter acknowledgement that trust had been splintered into fragments too small to easily piece together. In those raw exchanges, the couple discovered a fragile common ground, an imperceptible shift that spoke of both forgiveness and the harsh truth that some scars might never fully heal. Late one evening, as rain tapped a soft, relentless rhythm against the windows, Evelyn led Middleton to the attic, a space long forgotten but filled with relics of a shared history. Among dusty trunks and faded letters, they found the remnants of their earlier, simpler days, photos capturing moments of unguarded joy, handwritten notes, filled with dreams of a future painted in brighter hues. In that sanctum of memories, a quiet intimacy rekindled between them. It was as if each relic, each token of a past unmarred by secrets, ached to remind them of who they once were, a couple united by more than just the bonds of duty, but by a love that had, at one time, set their hearts ablaze. There, amid whispered reminiscences and tearful confessions, the possibility of renewal emerged, not as a grand, sweeping miracle, but as a measured, tentative step toward accepting the complexities of human frailty. Yet even as they clung to this fragile hope, both knew that the journey ahead would be arduous and riddled with lingering shadows. The specter of Evelyn's infidelity, like a delicate fissure in the foundation of their shared life, demanded constant vigilance, a reminder that every act of forgiveness carried the burden of an ever-present past. And so, as the attic's dim light played upon the dust and memories, they promised in that quiet space to continue seeking truth amidst fragments of their broken dreams, uncertain if love's remnants could ever be fully restored to their former brilliance, but resolute in the determination to try. Spring reluctantly yielded to an almost hesitant summer. Middleton and Evelyn found themselves preparing to confront not only the fragile remnants of their shared past but also the uncertain promise of a future reimagined. Each day brought with it subtle challenges, a lingering ache behind a laugh, echoes of conversations that hinted at secrets long buried, and the invading presence of memories that demanded acknowledgement. The soft, relentless warmth of the season served as both a balm and a provocation. It coaxed hidden emotions into the light while reminding them of the wounds they had yet to fully mend. They began attending therapy sessions together, tentative steps toward an honest dialogue that neither had anticipated months before. In a modest room with sunlight slipping past drawn curtains, they sat side by side, shoulders slightly leaning into one another, as a compassionate counselor guided them through exercises of reflection and reconciliation. Middleton's deep, aching silence gradually found voice in measured affirmations of hurt and hope, while Evelyn's eyes, long clouded by the dual burdens of guilt and yearning, told stories of a woman striving to rediscover the depths of her own identity. In those sessions, the couple slowly unraveled the tangled skein of their shared history, recognizing that while the scars were indelible, the path to healing could be as transformative as it was arduous. Amid this painstaking rebuilding, Vincent made his reappearance, a spectral echo of a past that had once ignited a fire within Evelyn's soul. One cool afternoon, as the city's edges blurred into the hazy light of early dusk, Vincent arrived unexpectedly at Evelyn's doorstep. His presence, less insistent than before but laden with an unmistakable gravity, sent tremors through the delicate equilibrium she was carefully nurturing. With eyes that held both regret and a resigned understanding, he pressed into her hand a folded letter. In every carefully chosen word, Vincent attempted to dissolve the fervor of their past, replacing it with a tone of apology and introspection, a recognition that the intensity of their earlier dalliance had transformed, leaving behind nothing but memories tinted with inevitable melancholy. The return of these words sparked a quiet introspection within Evelyn. Alone in the quiet hours of the night, she reread Vincent's letter as though it were a map of the soul, searching for clues that might illuminate the person she had become in the aftermath of her betrayals. Each line, tender and aching, invited her to consider that the passion which had once driven her into the arms of forbidden love might now serve as a stepping stone toward deeper self-awareness. In this space between past desire and present duty, Evelyn wondered if forgiveness, both for herself and for Middleton, could be found in the sincere acknowledgement of one's flaws and the humility to grow from them. Meanwhile, Middleton's inner journey was no less turbulent. Seeking solace beyond the confines of their shared therapy sessions, he found himself frequenting a small community support group for those who had experienced deep betrayals. In the safe vulnerability of these meetings, his carefully guarded grief was met with gentle affirmations from strangers whose own lives had been marred by loss and disillusionment. Their stories, sincere, raw, and hauntingly familiar, helped him to trace the contours of his own heart, revealing that the pain of betrayal, while monumental, was not insurmountable. Slowly, each shared narrative began weaving a new tapestry of resilience and cautious optimism, one where trust could be rebuilt not in the absence of scars, but despite them. One memorable afternoon, as golden light spilled over a bustling park, Middleton and Evelyn sat beneath an ancient oak, its gnarled limbs a testament to endurance and the passage of time. Here, in the quiet rustle of leaves and the distant murmur of life in full bloom, they attempted a tentative reparation of their once unbreakable bond. With no pretense of immediate absolution, they exchanged stories of hopes long deferred, dreams once shared, and the countless small moments that had once defined their union. Their conversation was measured and earnest, a slow dance of vulnerability where neither pointed accusatory fingers, but instead sought to rediscover the person each had been before the fractures began. Amid the gentle rhythms of that day, the echoes of past indiscretion softened into the background, allowing a fragile promise of redemption to emerge. Even as the pain of Evelyn's infidelity lingered like a shadow at the edge of every smile, it gradually became interwoven with lessons of forgiveness and the painful, yet necessary, evolution of trust. In these moments, Evelyn and Middleton both began to understand that healing was not a return to the innocence of youth, but a transformation, a metamorphosis that turned heartache into an opportunity for profound growth. As dusk once again settled over the park, painting the sky with hues of lavender and gold, the couple walked home in contemplative silence. Their intertwined hands, roughened by years of shared labor and now tentative hope, spoke of a journey both painful and poignant. The unspoken truth remained: the road ahead would be fraught with setbacks and sorrowful recollections, yet in the fragile promise of each new day lay the potential for love reborn. And so, with every step echoing softly on the cobblestones of an uncertain tomorrow, Middleton and Evelyn continued forward, bound by the irrevocable lessons of their past and the fragile yet unyielding hope for a future where every scar could eventually tell the story of their survival, transformation, and the quiet, enduring courage to embrace what lay ahead. In the quiet aftermath of countless shared confessions and tearful reckonings, Middleton and Evelyn found themselves standing at the fragile edge of a new beginning. The echoes of past betrayals had softened into the background, replaced now by tentative harmonies of forgiveness and the slow mending of a bond once thought irretrievably shattered. Even as the scars of infidelity remained etched upon their hearts, they discovered that healing was not the erasure of pain, but the courageous acceptance of life's imperfect truths. Beneath a sky painted with the soft hues of twilight, the couple embraced the uncertainty of tomorrow. Their intertwined hands and whispered promises bore silent testimony to the resilience of the human spirit, where every ending nurtured the seeds of hope and transformation. And so, amid the quiet strength of reconciliation and the gentle lullaby of a healing heart, their journey, fraught with sorrow, passion, and the unmistakable power of redemption, found its tender, final resting place in the promise of an ever-unfolding new dawn.